Next up, we do stay in a Spanish-speaking country, but we do come over to Europe now. We switch continents. We're going down to Spain, and we'll have Tim Moody presenting Pan Global Resources for us. You're in the Iberian Pyrite Belt. You're exploring a VMS project, but also you made a copper and gold discovery on the Cañada Honda project recently. So take it away. Introduce us to the projects.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. This is the first time I've spoken here. Pan Global, we're primarily a copper exploration company. All our projects are in Spain, and more particularly in southern Spain, where there's a very long established mining history. I think at today's share price, the company represents excellent value. The potential to multiply a share price looks very good in the near to medium term. Like many junior mining companies over the last 18 months, we've seen our share price fall, and there's been no differentiation between those companies with good projects, with something that could be a mine, and those that don't. So hopefully we'll be seen as one of the better choices when the market starts to pick up, and we're just starting to see the early signs of that now. Forward-looking statement. So first of all, I think we're one of the few new copper discoveries that has the potential to be brought into production within the next decade. In fact, I would say within the next 5 years. Now that's important because the copper price is expected to really accelerate over the next 10 years or so as the world tries to catch up with the demand that's going to be required to fill the energy transition and the electrification needs. And so we're in a great position. And I think today we're the only company here that's actually got a project in Europe. So, and I'll say a bit more about that. So we're essentially exploring, I think, perhaps the key metal for the energy transition being copper. Copper's needed to connect everything. The electric cars are going to need 5 to 7 times more copper than your combustion engine car. So, yeah, it's really important metal. And the long-term price fundamentals look excellent. We have a very experienced board and management team, a lot of big company background. I spent 24 years with Rio Tinto. We've got Placidome, Anglo-American, Newmont experience on our board. Lots of big company experience. Together, we've probably created billions of dollars for the respective companies. I've had the good experience of working in Peru with Graham many years ago. I've made a few copper discoveries which are in production today, and some others in other parts of the world. So, very experienced team. We can take this project all the way from exploration through to development and beyond. Also, we have an advanced copper discovery. As I say, something that's already got 40 kilometres of drilling, something that could be brought into production pretty soon. It's not yet a resource, but it is resource ready. And it could be a very low cost open pit copper mine. I was trying to think, are there any others in Europe? I can't think of any other new copper discoveries that are open pitable in Europe. In fact, they're pretty rare anywhere in the world. So that again sort of differentiates us a little bit. We also have some tin. We also have a little bit of copper and gold and silver, all of which are commodities that have quite a good future as things stand. We're in a great location, and you might hear a bit more about that today, that location's so important, particularly when you're in a high-risk business, that if you're in a jurisdiction that is stable and where you can develop your mine, then that takes a lot of the risk and worry away from you. And Spain is one of those places. It's a low-risk, mining-friendly area, particularly in southern Spain where we're located. Oops, sorry, if I go back. The other thing is our mineral rights position. You know, we're surrounded by bigger companies, and I think we really caught them napping. And it's an area that I knew well from my years when I worked in Spain, leading the exploration there. We would have loved to have had this piece of ground. We knew it hadn't been explored for 30 or 40 years. We got it really under the nose of the bigger companies, and we're already delivering on the potential of that property. We did a financing last year. At the end of October, we raised 6 million. We were 3 times oversubscribed. We did that at 20 cents. Now, the previous financing we did was about 2.5 or nearly 3 years ago. That was at 60 cents. Now, when we did that financing, we had completed 40 drill holes. We've now completed 180 drill holes on the discovery. It's quadrupled in size, and we've made another discovery. So that's the market we've run into in the last 18 months. We've increased the value enormously. So that's why I say when the market starts to pick up, we're in a great position, and hopefully we'll see a multiplication in our share price. So a little bit of history here. So we are in what's called the Iberian Pyrite Belt. It's a very famous, prolific mining belt. In fact, there's been mining more or less continuously for 4,500 years. It's the reason the Romans went to Iberia. It's where the Rio Tinto company began. It's the second or third largest mining company in the world. It's a tremendous area for mining. It's a long history of mining. It's a great, new discoveries are being made, new mines are being put into production. This photo on the left here, that's in the old Rio Tinto mine, the open pit. This is a Roman water wheel. It's wooden. There's one of 50 of those were found. The Romans used those to lift water out of the underground mine so they could continue to mine deeper. So a lot of history there. It was interesting, the earlier talk, the first talk, didn't actually show anything about copper, but copper is, as I say, perhaps one of the, if not the key metal for the energy transition. The world's going to consume as much copper in the next 25 to 30 years as it has in all of history before that. So it gives you an idea of the demand over the next 25 to 30 years is tremendous. That's roughly, the world's biggest copper mine produces a bit over 1 million tonnes of copper a year. A typical world-class ore body will produce about 200,000 tonnes of copper a year. So you need at least one of the biggest mines in the world every year, or 5 of the typical world-class. That's not happening today. So the only way the world can deliver on that demand is by the copper price increasing, so that the existing mines can lower their cut-off and they can deliver the extra copper that's required while the world tries to catch up. So that's where Pan Global really fits in. We can ride on the back of this rising copper price. Tin, Graham's already covered that. The outlook for tin looks excellent, not only for solar, but it's also being used now as coatings on to improve the efficiency of solar panels as well. So again, another important metal. It's about 3 times the price of copper. There aren't too many sources of tin in Europe. So a little bit about where we're located. This is southern Spain. It shows the Iberian Pyrite Belt. It has 7 big operating mines today, with major operators such as Lundin, First Quantum, Sandfire and others. There are a number of other development projects through the belt. We're at the far eastern end. We're about 30 minutes drive outside the city of Seville. We don't have to go to 4,200 metres altitude, Graham, fortunately. Everybody goes home and sleeps in their own bed every night. It's got great infrastructure. We're about 70 kilometres from a smelter as well. So it's an excellent location. Just zooming in on the area that our main project. We do have some other projects in Spain, but this is our main, where most of our investment is being made. The yellow outline is about 5,700 hectares. Our main discovery, copper, tin and silver, is at La Romana, the red blob in the bottom of the picture. And our new discovery, about 3 kilometres to the north, called Cañada Honda, which is more copper, gold and silver. The other reason for showing this map is showing the proximity of some of the other mines. So just to the northwest of us is the Atalaya mining, a large open pit copper mine. That's where the Rio Tinto company began its life. They use about a 0.15% copper cut-off, and their reserve grades are about 0.38%. That's a pretty low grade deposit, but it shows what you can achieve in this area in terms of being a low-cost operating environment. Right next door to us, there are two large open pits that were formerly mined by Boliden. They had a tailings dam failure about 25 years ago, and that put a stop to those. Now that area is held by Grupo Mexico. They're the third largest copper producer in the world. They're right next door to us. They're expecting to commence a new development up beneath the Los Frailes open pit. They're just waiting for one piece of the permitting for that mine to go ahead. Just to give you an idea of scale here, the edge of one of those pits is about 600 metres from our property, and our two discoveries are within 6 kilometres of their potential new development. And then just a bit further over to the east is what was probably one of the world's highest grade open pit copper mines, operated by First Quantum at the Las Cruces mine. The open pit is finished. They're permitted now to go underground, so we'll see what happens with their undergoing a sales process. But yeah, with two new underground developments on our doorstep, and our discovery's right next door, I think, and they're much bigger companies, I think that puts a bit of a target on our back, I would think. So we can talk more about that later. So our concept here was that to compete with the big companies, you really need to make not just one discovery, but several discoveries that would sort of feed into one project. And they sort of occur as clusters of deposits. These types of ore bodies were things that formed on the sea floor or just beneath the sea floor, like hot smokers, ancient versions. So they form in sort of clusters. So we have many targets on our property and the potential to make multiple discoveries, and every time we make a new discovery, that's the potential to multiply our share price. So we've got one, we've now got a second discovery, and I think the prospects of making additional discoveries are very high. Let's put things into perspective. The figure on the right here is the Neves Corvo mine. It's a cluster of 7 different deposits. That's at the same scale. It took them 30 years to find all of those deposits, and they're mining at about 1.2 kilometres depth, so a very different situation. Sorry, this is not ChatGPT generated, but it's a gravity image. It's not that complicated, actually, just measures density variations in the Earth. But it's a very effective tool for discovering new deposits in this area. The Neves Corvo ore body was found that way. Las Cruces to the east of this was found that way. The blob on the far right there, that was a 70 million tonne massive sulphide found by drilling that anomaly. And our first target and our first drill holes were at the La Romana anomaly in the south there, that sort of pink blob, and they were the discovery holes. So we've now got 180 drill holes into that, and it's still growing. And now we're currently drilling at the Cañada Honda target up in the north, but most of these targets are untested at the moment, including this very big one called Bravo down just to the east, and we hope to get access to that in the next couple of months, and that's a pretty exciting target for us for obvious reasons. So just turning to where we're drilling at the moment, the gravity anomaly, you don't need to sort of get into the detail here, but essentially we've only reported 13 drill holes at the moment. It's a very big target, and all of the holes that we've been reporting are intersecting economic grades of copper, gold and silver at mineable widths. You need about 1% copper to be economic if underground in this area. I'll skip over that one. So again, it's not too complicated, but there's a gravity anomaly map on the inset over there to the left. 2 to 3 kilometre long target, and this is turned on its side, and this is a long section, if you like. The copper being intersected in the purple in the top right here coincides with the gravity and the helicopter resistivity anomaly. So essentially what it's showing us is that all of that geophysics contains copper with us, we're looking at something could be 2 to 3 kilometres long. That's a very big target. That compares with, say, the Aguas Tenidas mine or the Sotiel Magoyas mine, 2 big mines that are being mined about 40 kilometres away from us, both about 100 million tonnes each. So we're right at the very beginning of this story. It's a really exciting, really big target. So our main discovery, La Romana. So very continuous copper mineralisation, 180 drill holes. Most of it, if we put it into published a resource today, would fall in the measured to indicated category. So very high confidence. Because it's so simple, it's not faulted, not folded, it's very predictable, comes to surface in the south and just dips at an ideal angle from an open pit to the north. To give you an idea of scale here, this would occupy about 60 to 70 football pitches if you laid it all on. So it's already big, it's still growing. The last results we put out are getting, again, high grades for this area, close to surface, it's still open, and the geophysics is telling us it could grow another 300 or 400 metres off to the west. So there's plenty of upside still on this, and I hope we'll be in a position to put out a resource within the next 12 months or so. So we're currently focused on trying to delineate the western extent of the mineralisation. Cross section, just to show again, very simple geometry. It's very predictable. We hit the copper every time where we expect to. Flat topography, just a thin layer of barren cover over the top. That's what really hid it from the Romans. The Romans were very effective explorers in this part of the world. So, but that's an ideal shape for an open pit. And here we're looking at copper and tin mineralisation over about 50 metres plus thickness. So quite useful. Just to put this into some context in the area, this is looks at the depth to the ore bodies, what's being mined today, some of the existing mines in the red and some of the development projects in blue. You can see Las Cruces that I showed earlier, they had 150 metres of barren material they had to remove off the top of that to get to the top of the ore body for the open pit. Then the three mines that are operated by Sandfire today, they paid $1.8 or $1.9 billion to acquire those about 2 years ago. They're mining between 400 and 800 metres depth, exploring down to 1,000 metres. Lundin's mine at Neves Corvo, they're mining now at 1.2 kilometres depth. Got exploration drill holes going to 1.5 kilometres. So this really deep, expensive drilling. And there's our discovery at La Romana. From surface, open at depth, it's cheaper to mine, cheaper to explore, and pretty unusual. It's the only one in the Pirate Belt with new discovery, and as I say, probably the only one in Europe. Just to show there's a bit of upside here, as I say, that we've got many other targets we haven't got to. We did a survey near our La Romana just last year, a detailed survey. I identified a number of other targets, all untested, to the north and to the west. And then there's this big, obvious thing on the right, this big pink blob, very big, completely untested. We haven't had access to that, and we expect we'll get access to that in the next couple of months. And if that's another discovery, that could be very big. And of course, if it is, then the potential for our share price to really jump looks very good. So just very quickly, so we've said enough that copper's on the critical minerals list, raw materials list in Europe. Obviously having a copper project in Europe therefore is an advantage, but it could mean improved access to financing, perhaps funding for research and so on. The Spanish government, particularly the Andalusian government, which is where we're located, has an initiative there where they've created what they call a mining acceleration unit. So basically they're offering that if you apply for your mining permit today, you would get it granted within 24 to 28 months. That's very quick. And they're really trying to be a one-stop shop to smooth the whole process. So that's a great initiative and a further indication of how mining friendly the area is. I mentioned a lot of big company background, Rio Tinto and Newmont and all the rest of it. So all of these things, environment, social and governance, all of those features are sort of in our DNA and it's embedded in everything we do. We're probably the only junior mining company that I'm aware of that is signed on to the United Nations Global Compact, and we're reporting to that. So, thesis here, well, I think we represent a good investment opportunity, many ways to win here, and with all the many targets we've got, a proven track record with our board and management team, great project in a great location. It will be a mine, and I fully expect we're going to make additional discoveries. Stable, mining-friendly location, which counts for a lot. Capital structure, we have about 240 million shares out. Share price about 18 or 19 cents today. 2 analysts covering us. We've got us a buy at 85 cents, so more than 4.5 times the current share price. The insiders own about 8%. That goes to about 14% on a fully diluted basis. The last financing, we saw an increase in institutional investors, including 4 from Europe. So we've not been that well known in Europe, and this is sort of, we've got, I think, next few days of travelling around parts of Europe to try and introduce the company, and we'd like to see a greater investment from the European investors in our project, particularly given where we're located. All right, we've got a lot of news to come. Perhaps I'll just stop it there, but thanks very much.
Well done, Tim. We have about a minute for questions, if anybody has a question. Sir.
You situated the findings in the south with the pirate belt, but most of the pirates are found in the north, in the Pyrenees. Have you been looking there too?
Let me repeat the question real quick. Your project's in the south, in the Iberian Pirate Belt in the south, but the question is, have you been looking up north as well, where a lot of pirate has been found historically as well?
Yes, well, actually, the most of Spain's mining industry is in the south. Yeah. So all of the big ones are in the south. So there are a few mines in the north. We are looking in different parts of Spain, including northern Spain as well. But at the moment, given the success we've had in the south, that's where we're focusing our exploration at this stage.
Has pirate something to do with those minerals, or it's just a combination?
How do I repeat? What does pirate have to do? What is it associated with? How do you find it?
Yeah, so because these were essentially deposits that form from what they call like hot smokers that form on the sea floor, they often come with pyrite and the other metals. So that's why you get this association. We have actually, I should mention that we have something a little different with our Laramana discovery. It's low in pyrite, actually, relative to the other mines in the area. That's a positive because it means our concentrate grades are potentially higher.
Fantastic. Yeah, feel free to continue asking questions. Tim, you have a table upstairs as well. So thanks so much, Tim.
Right,
and it's my pleasure now.